What's up, everyone? Alex here. This is For the Love of Video Games, episode 260. With me today is Daniel Santos. How's it going, man?
Going very well. I'm drinking some green tea right now, so I'm very relaxed, very chill.
I gotta ask you this question, because this is a burning question that's been burning since last year. Are you a health nut?
No.
Okay.
No way. Why do you ask?
Well, green tea, the yoga, the running, like, what's going on?
I don't really do the running anymore because of the DDP yoga.
Okay.
Because I hated running so much.
Is it because, like the impact on your legs and your knees and stuff? Okay.
That's exactly it, because I have flat feet.
Me too. I hate that. I hate that.
The arch in my, I still have an arch in my feet, but it's just not as pronounced as other people, I guess. So it just hurts. I wear like memory foam shoes as a result.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get them at Skechers. I recommend them.
I mean, memory foam, anything. I mean, it's like, is it like just a regular Dr. Scholl's kind of stuff? Like, I think they make that, right?
It's like built into the shoe.
Oh, built into the shoe. Okay, all right. That's definitely different.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
So like, yeah, I have like 2 pairs. Actually, I have 3 pairs of shoes with memory foam.
Mm-hmm.
So, because before I used to wear like these like plastic things that I would put into my shoes, and those aren't great after a while.
Yeah.
After a few hours walking around in that. So like the memory foam is like way better.
Nice. Yeah. My wife just recently, well, it's not recent, but like last month she got like memory foam like pillows. And so like, tried it out, I kind of like pushed into it like a little bit. I was like, wow, this is neat stuff. Like, it's like, man, I'm really impressed. Freaking technology in the field of sleeping, right?
Yeah, I actually heard that there were some pillows that like always stay cool.
That's actually one of them. She bought one of those. It's memory foam / it's a cool pillow, like literally.
Dude, no joke. I want you to like send me a link or something to these pillows. I want them.
Okay.
I want them.
All right. Let's see if I can find some on Amazon.com. But let's hold off on that later. But so I mean, aside from your health stuff, which I'm really happy that you're still doing that. I just started doing my morning yoga again, so it's like trying to get back into it. These creaky bones and muscles they're not as fresh as they were back like 10 years ago.
Limber.
Yeah, arthritis is now a word that I have to pay attention to with its meaning. Yeah, I actually, honestly, I don't know. I do know that there's like a tightness like in my bicep, like on my left arm, and that's kind of concerning because I try to do some some of the basic like weight stuff and DDP yoga, and I'm like, ooh, this is a bit sore, and I've had this since like December, and like it's like. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like I twisted a muscle or something in there, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is oof. Yeah. So anyways, let's move away from the health stuff, because obviously we're here to talk about video games.
We are not a health podcast.
Yes, we are not a health podcast.
That said, if you do want to lose a little bit of weight, the best advice I can give you right now is to just stop drinking soda.
Yes.
That will help tremendously. You don't even know.
Yeah, I need to get back on that bandwagon sometime.
Like I've cut out soda entirely, and like I think it's like the easiest thing you can do to improve your diet, and it will have the biggest effect.
But that's kind of the thing though. Is like I drink a lot more water these days, and I don't drink juices, no sugars, so it's like it's pretty simple. Anyways, not a health podcast, right?
No.
Not a health podcast.
Giving a little bit of advice.
Yes. So you played a lot of games like over the past week, which is kind of nuts, man.
As I am to do.
Yeah, as you're wont to do. Well, I have my own games that I played, so I want to hear like how you've been doing on your games, though, first and foremost.
Okay, so I friggin' beat Onimusha in a single sitting.
Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah. So like originally I was actually going to play Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I did get a chance to play it a little bit, but my dad was actually playing Onimusha.
Okay.
For nostalgia's sake. And I was because I picked up the remastered version that came out recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, I'm getting nostalgic. I want to play through it. So when he was done playing, I just beat it.
Jeez, like how long did it take you?
I don't know how much of the gameplay itself was recorded in the game's timer. So because I did think there was like a few times where I just like paused it because I needed like to do something else. But the end time was something like 6.5 hours.
That's pretty fast.
So, but I want to say like actual gameplay time was probably like 4.5, 5 hours, something like that.
Jeesh. Crazy. I mean,
yeah,
I don't remember that game being that short.
See, me neither, but I think it might be, for me, I think it was my memories of Onimusha's 2 and 3 conflating the length of Onimusha 1, because I'm pretty sure 2 and 3 are like much meatier, longer games.
You might be right. I do remember Onimusha 2 being so long, and I don't actually think I finished that one. I do remember finishing Onimusha 1, though.
I remember beating Onimusha 2 multiple times because the way that game is structured, it's the most unique entry because the way that it works is like the first half of the game, you go to a little town and stuff, and you have like multiple characters that you can interact with, and those characters, depending on how you treat them during that first half of the game, will determine whether they come with you in the second half of the game. So you get different endings.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I actually beat that game like 4 times because there's like 4 different characters. There's a girl, there's a ninja boy, there's some suave dude with a rifle, and there's some fat guy with I think he had like a spear or something. And I just wanted to get like all the endings with all the characters.
It's funny because like if I was only coming into this conversation just now, I could have sworn you were talking about like Castlevania Dracula's Curse with like, you can only take like Sypha or Grant or Alucard, and then if you want to see the other endings, you got to take like the other character and not the other. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
I mean, they could have been inspired. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go that route this time. Normally, I would be like, yeah, maybe. That's cool though. Like, so how do you feel about that? Like finishing Onimusha so soon?
Makes me want to get Onimusha's 2 and 3 remastered for sure.
Oh man, Onimusha 2 remastered would be incredible.
Because I really enjoyed my time with Onimusha 1, but at the same time, it made me appreciate the other games more because, at least based on what I remember, I really feel like Onimusha's 2 and 3 like really just improved upon what the first game tried to do.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
And and that said, like Onimusha 2 did feel like a little experimental with like the first half of the game and the second half of the game being like totally different. It was still like really cool and unique. So, but I think 3 is my favorite. I think 3 pretty much like nailed everything. And there was also the game where they stopped taking themselves seriously.
God. So 3 was the game that I really didn't get a chance to play when it came out. I only had picked it up like maybe like I want to say 10 years ago or something like that, like in while we were in the PS3 era, and I never actually had the chance to jump in and play it. And all I know is what everybody knows by not when being shown the game, which is, hey, Samanosuke's back, and now Jean Reno is part of the game, which I'm like, what? Like, what is even going on here? Why is he there?
Because video games.
Jeez. So, okay. So
here's the thing, though. Have you ever seen the opening of Onimusha 3?
I need to rewatch it, but I have seen it within the past year or so, believe it or not.
Because that is like one of the greatest openings to a video game ever.
It's kind of insane.
It's so good.
It's
so good.
I remember, like, is this the one where you see like zombified Japanese climbing the Eiffel Tower? Am I remembering this right?
That is not the opening I'm talking about, but that is an opening in the game. Yeah, I mean that is in the game. But the opening I'm talking about is like the one like before you even like start the game up. It's just like the cinematic that rolls when you put the game disc in.
Okay, all right.
And it's basically Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, I need to rewatch this now. I totally need to rewatch this.
Samanosuke is basically like infiltrating one of this like demon thing, and he's like fighting off all these zombies, and then there's this like this crazy choreographed fight, and it's peak video game dumbness at its finest.
Okay.
And I mean that in the best way possible. Like, it's so cool. It's so good. It's just
Okay, so I'm gonna do something really special for the people who are actually watching / listening to this on YouTube. So, in case you guys missed it, I probably will put a part of, actually probably the entire trailer, like in like the video right now, like as you know Daniel was talking about it, so that you guys can see what the hell he's talking about. But rest assured, by the time you all have listened / watched this episode, that I would have probably have seen it at that point and probably have reacted in some manner. I don't know how I'll react. I don't know how I'll react, but I will react in some manner. So
you'll have a reaction.
Okay. Yeah, I even put a note in the show notes saying, show Onimusha 3 opening movie in video version. Okay.
This is going to be amazing.
It better be. I'm just saying.
I promise you. It will it will be worth your time.
Okay. Okay, good.
I'll take care of him. Galiganto. We meet again, Samanosuke. You shall not meet Nobunaga. Samanosuke.
All right, so, well, that's cool. I mean, Onimusha is Onimusha. I had fond memories of Samanosuke Sagara, and his time. I like, without laboring too much into this, because I know, like, we want to move on. I liked Nobunaga Oda as a demonic warlord. I actually really like the idea of him being a bad guy.
Well, he's been a bad guy in a lot of Japanese media.
That's true. I guess you're right.
I mean, in this is another Capcom game. What the fuck does Capcom have against Nobunaga Oda? But in Sengoku Basara,
right,
he which is basically Devil May Cry mixed with Dynasty Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
He's an evil demon king in that as well.
Which is funny because if you look, elsewhere in Japan, didn't Koei Tecmo made a game called Nobunaga's Ambition, where I think you play as Nobunaga Oda, right? Like, it's like a strategy game? Yeah.
I never played it personally, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I guess Capcom just has a thing for making Nobunaga Oda an evil warlord.
Tecmo Koei also made Kessen 3, where you also play as Nobunaga in that. And Nobunaga is also in the Samurai Warriors games.
Was he a bad guy in that?
He's more like aloof.
Okay.
It's kind of weird.
Is it like is he like some sort of weird Dynasty Warriors trope character? Like, maybe he's like the Cao of like Samurai Warriors or some.
He is basically Cao Cao.
Okay.
That's the correct pronunciation, by the way. It's not Cao Cao.
Hey, American, okay?
He had a son called Cao P.
Yes.
And in the English dub, he calls himself Cow P. My father is Cao, and I am his son, Cow P.
I mean, you basically have shown like how they delivered it anyway. I feel like, like, you want to talk about a series that never took itself seriously. I feel like that's what the Dynasty Warriors series is all about at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that with Dynasty Warriors 7, they took themselves a little bit more seriously, and the way that the story is presented in that game is actually pretty decent, although the voice acting is still pretty bad.
Wow. Yeah. I can imagine.
Dynasty Warriors 8 is probably the most mechanically refined, but that's by Dynasty Warriors standards, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where are the standards on that these days? I mean, 9 came out, right? And I guess that experiment failed.
I don't even want to touch that game.
Okay.
I don't want to get near it.
I remember at the beginning of last year you were looking forward to that game.
I was.
Yeah.
Oh, I was. And then I hopped off that real quick.
Like, while the cart was like barreling down the hill, apparently. It's like this.
I didn't even get on the cart.
Okay, all right. Well, you were technically on the cart by saying you were like, looking forward to it.
Okay, so I opened the door to the cart by saying that. But then once I saw the tracks, I would close the door.
Okay, all right. That's like, almost going in line to like a really crazy roller coaster. Then you saw the people throwing up, and then you were like, nope, I'm out.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's exactly it. Okay, well, let me share with you something that I have been playing. And by playing, I mean reading. And by reading, I mean also watching. It's Steins Gate Elite. This is exciting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what is your perspective on Steins Gate in general?
Okay. So, I own the VN, the original, but I haven't played it yet. However, I have seen the anime series. I even own it on Blu-ray.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I went into it with kind of high expectations because people hyped it up as like anime of the decade.
Whoa.
I cannot stress enough how overhyped the game, not the game, I'm sorry, that the show was. Like, I mean, people made a really big deal about it.
I mean, I'll be honest, like overhyping anything can be damaging, right? Like that sounds bad. Like,
I mean, hype in general, yeah, can be damaging, but this wasn't just any old hype. This was like one of the greatest anime, in a long time.
Whoa.
Hype. Okay. Like, it was crazy. And while I did like it, I did think it was good, wow, it was not that good. Like,
okay. So, okay, but it's still, yeah, okay. And that's
but I still liked it. I do want to make that clear. I do like the show. But I just thought it was like solid, like with some issues.
Okay. That's totally understandable. My relationship with the series is 0. This is my first time actually
Interesting.
Interacting with the franchise as a whole. And I do want to thank, Spike Chunsoft Games for, letting me have an early copy of Steins Gate Elite. That's really gracious of them. And so I'm coming into this completely blind. I have not read anything about this game. I have not researched anything about this game. I have not even looked at any of the promotional materials of this game. So I want to give this game a fair shake without any sort of, I guess outside opinion is okay. I've heard a lot of people say it's like great. Obviously, you have your opinion of the anime, which that's actually very interesting to me because Steins Gate Elite, what I have been told is it's obviously a remake of the first game, right? But it incorporates elements of the anime into the game itself. So it is Steins Gate, but it's also meant to bring in people who liked the anime and to kind of urge them or give them a little bit of a push to play this game. And also I heard like there's new routes in this visual novel as well. And I've only played a small part of it. Like I literally just started chapter 1. That's how, far, quote unquote, I am in it. But at least I can tell you this, like the way that they incorporate the anime into the actual visual novel to me is really fascinating because there's only been one visual novel that I've ever played in my entire life that has done something similar, and that is the Dora series. And I don't know if I would actually talked to you about this series before. Do you remember?
I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Like, so back in the PS1 era, and I'm just going to make this quick and short, Sony hired Sugar and Rockets, which is like a development company, and Production IG to develop 4 visual novels based off of the 4 seasons period. And each of them had different artists and writers and stories and stuff, obviously. But the way that they did it was like, it's not just your typical visual novel with stills and stuff like that. They literally made a movie, like a full-length movie or some such, and it animated as you're playing it, as a visual novel, which is crazy. So Steins Gate Elite is very similar to that kind of approach. So, like it's, they take a lot of liberties and they take a lot of scenes from the anime and they kind of like, animate them just like the anime did. Guessing,
See,
right?
I find that a little disappointing, and I'm going to show you in the chat real quick. That's what the art style of the original visual novel looked like, and I think it's actually really unique. And while I'm not saying the anime looked bad, the anime looks a little more standard. And
I'm sorry. I think I knocked like the microphone over. Did you hear that at all?
I heard something.
Yeah, I accidentally punched like my microphone arm, and
you were so enthused with the artwork, you just had to punch your microphone.
yes. Also, I'm making a note to myself to actually show the artwork that you're showing me, so that way the video people can actually see what you mean and stuff.
Right. So, but do you see the difference between like the artwork from the original visual novel compared to Elite?
Yes, actually, that's a very striking difference, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, the anime doesn't look bad at all. Like, I thought it was a really, good-looking show, but when I went back and saw what the original visual novel looked like, I was just like, I mean, I understand why they couldn't replicate this, because how can you replicate this in an anime?
Yeah.
But in this remake, I think it's kind of a shame that this art style was lost.
Now, I'll be, the first to admit that I don't know how different the original is with the new game, right? I can only tell you, like, based off of my experience of the new game, like, how it is. And to be quite honest, I'm actually, like, I look at this and I'm like, I'm still okay with the new style. I mean, obviously, this is beautiful, this is gorgeous, but it by no means, like, if anything, this just kind of tells me, like, well, if I want this art style, I'll just buy the original, right? I mean, it still exists, and that's actually the most important thing about this. I don't really know how much more of, like, how much different Steins Gate Elite is compared to the old version, but let's just say that based off of what I played, like, it actually took me a little bit of time to figure out, like, Okarin's, like, kind of personality and what kind of person he is. I'm not quite sure, like, if and actually, I'm sorry, I shouldn't compare it to the previous game because I really haven't played it, like, or the previous iteration of this game, but, like, it took me a bit to kind of understand, like, what was really going on within the pre chapter 1 of what's going on, because they showed a lot of like ideas and stuff, talked about the butterfly effect and all that stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting that there's, obviously the butterfly effect idea is something that's going to be really important to the series, or to this game itself for that matter. But, like, by the time I start with chapter 1, I just kind of get this idea that the main character is kind of like a little bit of a liar, or like or conceited or something like that. But, and again, don't confirm anything, because I'm just kind of spitballing and telling you, like, what I think. And I think it's even too early for me to even talk about the story. How about that? Because really, like, it's just a lot of, like, setup, but, the actual game proper, quote unquote, if you will, hasn't started yet, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
And since it is a visual novel, the only real gameplay that's going to be there is probably just, like, decision making.
Yeah. But, like, but I guess by that I mean, like, you're thrust in a situation that's, like, really difficult and challenging, and you have to make a decision based off of all the knowledge that you've, acquired, that sort of thing. So, and I think, like, once the story gets going, that's when I mean the game proper is going to begin. Not to say that, anything that I've experienced isn't the game already. That's not what I mean, but, but so far,
sure,
like, I'm intrigued, right? Like,
okay.
To be quite honest, like, I've only played the Zero Escape series. I mean, I didn't play Danganronpa, so unfortunately, like, I did not consume that as a game. I consumed that as, hey, somebody's streaming it, let me watch it, kind of sort of situation.
Okay.
Yeah. But basically Zero Escape, the entire series, like, I played. So
I've only played 999.
Okay. So jumping into this is going to be really interesting, especially since the community is basically saying, like, oh, yeah, by the way, like, a lot of other games have looked at this and kind of borrowed some ideas from it. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but we'll see. So, yeah, that's my short experience with Steins Gate Elite. And it's going.
Yeah, as long as you like it.
Definitely. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, I know you've been chomping at the bit to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3, right? Wow,
I don't know I don't know about chomping at the bread, but
Okay.
So yeah, I got Kingdom Hearts 3, and I put a couple hours into it. Because as of this recording, I picked it up. I got it yesterday,
Okay.
and so I've only had a chance to play some of it. I will say that first and foremost, unlike Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, which take forever to get started, this one jumps pretty much straight into it. There's no Destiny Island. There's no whatever the town was. There's no like Roxas intro. None of that.
Okay.
Like you start the game, you see some cutscenes, and then boom, you're straight into a Disney World.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's already good news.
Yeah. So, one thing that I'm not going to say it's like bad per se, but one thing that has thrown me off is kind of how movement is treated.
Movement, so, as in just like the way your character controls?
More so how like Sora walks around.
Okay.
So like, let me put it this way: the previous games are super gamey in that like, if you want to move in a direction, Sora will like snap in that direction. But in Kingdom Hearts 3, I guess because it has more realistic visuals, quote unquote, like he doesn't like snap in a direction so much as he physically, like the character model like will move in that direction. So like if you want him to turn around, instead of him like snapping, doing like a 180 spin within a split second, he will physically like turn himself around. You get what I'm saying?
I'm still kind of confused as to how this works. Like, I mean, how does this work in relation to the camera is kind of like, you know, what I'm thinking about here. Like, how does that work? Like, does the camera spin behind him right away? Like, is it loose? Like,
well, you have control over the camera.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, it's the camera will just be wherever you decide the camera to be.
Okay.
So like, it's just a little weird, right? Like, it makes him feel a little, I'm not going to say unwieldy, but I guess a little sluggish. So that I'm not like, to be honest, I'm not super fond of. I'm hoping I get used to it after a while, but
so
it's
not, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but like I'm still trying to understand like the difference, because are you talking about like that there's some sort of animation priority that happens, which is why like there's a little bit of a delay as far as like okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, yeah, I can understand how that can be frustrating, given that a lot of the previous like Kingdom Hearts games, from what I can tell, it's literally like they're not so obsessive about animating the character, like the transitions in between animations. And yeah, wow, okay, that's interesting. That is a huge change.
The thing is, though, it really only seems to matter much when you're just like walking around. Okay. During combat, everything feels like tight.
Huh.
Like I haven't really felt this as an issue during combat.
Okay.
Which I know sounds weird, but that's just how it is.
Yeah. Okay. That's really okay. Okay.
So, yeah. So another thing about the combat is, now I'm still pretty early on, but it incorporates two elements that like if you've only played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 will be like entirely new to you. But they added something called shot lock and flow motion, which are carryovers from Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hold down the R1 button, it will go in first person, and there'll be like this giant reticle, and when you line it up with the enemies, it'll start like put like tags on the enemies, and then once you've finished tagging all the enemies, you could press X, and then Sora will shoot out like a bunch of stuff out of his Keyblade.
Okay. Interesting.
And it changes depending on what keyblade you're using.
Okay.
And flow motion is basically like if you like air dash into a wall, you can then like bounce off the wall.
I see. Okay.
Right. Now, in Dream Drop Distance, flow motion was stupidly broken because you could literally like glide all around the place, and you could also use it to elevate yourself. You could jump up higher. You could keep bouncing off the wall and then jumping up. You can't do that in Kingdom Hearts 3. I think they realized how broken it was, and they significantly nerfed it. So I don't know if it will maybe gain more utility as I play through the game, or that it will get better as I play through the game. But for right now, it definitely feels gimped, but not to the point where it feels useless or anything like that. Because you could still like bounce off a wall and then do an attack, and it, you could like, let's say you're in a corridor, you could start like ping ponging off the walls, and it looks really cool and it feels good to do.
That sounds really cool, actually. I mean, it is going to be interesting to see how this implementation of this kind of movement like is going to affect like the entirety of the rest of your Kingdom Hearts 3 experience. But that's something that I keep thinking about when people talk about Kingdom Hearts as a whole, right? And I actually got in a conversation about this with my wife, how it's weird how some people think of Kingdom Hearts 1, and I'm not saying everybody, right? Some people say that Kingdom Hearts 1 has like the best gameplay of the series, which I'm kind of like, no. I think you mean maybe the story, because I think Kingdom Hearts 1 story is probably the most accessible. Yeah, that too. And so like, the entry level is pretty low. And then of course, as far as gameplay goes, like we talked about how like, everybody just pretty much accepts that, Kingdom Hearts story is pretty much bonkers. I mean, I think I would like to think that even the people who are staunch fans of Kingdom Hearts will say that, yeah, the story is really crazy, and not deny that, because I honestly, like, I don't know I think you basically said that the story is bonkers too, right? I mean, I think we can agree on this. Yeah. But that
for me though, it's gotten to the point where like, yeah, it's bonkers, but like that's part of the enjoyment at this point.
Okay. That I respect. But where I was getting at really is like what you said several months ago as to why you really play this. One of the reasons why you really play the series is because of the gameplay, right? Like, and
yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2, I will defend as a really fun game. Like I replayed it not that long ago and thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, I skipped all the cutscenes, but I still had a lot of fun. All the drive forms are really cool. Like the bosses are fun to fight. It's a really good game. And even if it's got like this convoluted story I don't care about, like that doesn't take away from the fact that like I like to transform and dual wield keyblades and do combos and stuff.
Yeah. And I haven't really watched or seen too much of Kingdom Hearts 3, I'll be honest, but the one thing that I've always loved about the Kingdom Hearts series is their freaking incredible just design and detail. Like I remember in Kingdom Hearts 2 when I was playing and stuff, like every single town changed the frame of like the command window, which I'm like, that is some weird obsessive amount of detail that you didn't need to do, but you're doing anyway, Like how many people who make video games do something like that? You don't really see that kind of attention to detail in many things these days. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's a futuristic game, let's put some whiz bang futuristic stuff, not thinking about like like the aspects of the design of this thing and all that stuff. But like Kingdom Hearts have been consistently like, all right, well, like let's make this thing like really special. And I think that really helps people get really into the game, like silly storyline, like like I guess withstanding.
So like with what you just said in mind, in the first world in Kingdom Hearts 3 that I explored, I noticed that there was all these like little Mickey Mouse logos like all over the place.
Ooh.
Just to be there.
Just to be there. Interesting.
Just to be there. They don't add anything to the game really gameplay wise. It's like they're just part of the environmental like aesthetic just to be there. And it's like, you didn't have to do that, but every time I notice it, I'm like, you know what, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the attention to detail that this game has is absolutely phenomenal. And I actually tweeted this last week when you guys are listening to this, and I basically remarked about like how beautiful like that title screen is. And I've always been like a fan of like the Kingdom Hearts title screens because they're so like, it sets the mood like pretty damn well. But like 3 had that like, where the logo is and has that tile pattern, and then you had like the cover of the game, and I'm like, that is beautiful, man. Like I kept on looking at it like last night, like when I saw somebody like post a photo saying like, hey, I'm gonna play this game, and I'm like, that is one beautiful title screen. That is pretty incredible. Like I don't get to say that too often, mind you. Yeah. So. But
yeah, and actually playing the game, like the graphics are gorgeous. Like it's a really, really, really impressive looking game.
That's great. It makes me jealous, actually, to be quite honest. I actually want to play this game. But
you of all people,
right? Surprisingly enough. But between this game and the next game that we're going to be talking about, I did have to make a decision between the two, and I picked the next game that we're about to talk about. But before that, Daniel, I did message you a link to that memory foam cool pillow. I don't actually know the real term of it, but it's let me just read it to you.
Holy crap, it's $150.
Well, it's technically $209 if you don't buy it from Amazon, but if you do buy it from Amazon, it is $156.75. It is called the Cloud Breeze Dual King Size Pillow Soft Support Sleep Cool Washable Cover, and it has a 5-year warranty. So but you could buy like all sorts of stuff on Amazon.com, not just this $200 pillow. You can buy Kingdom Hearts, but if you
for half the price,
for more than half the price, probably, right? I mean, it's just at this point. But if you are going to go to Amazon.com to buy anything and stuff, please consider using our affiliate link, which is bit.ly/Amazon Backlog Battle. Once again, that is bit.ly/Amazon Backlog Battle. Now you're probably wondering, like, why isn't it like an Amazon link or something like that? This is just a generic link that makes it easy for you to kind of remember, like, hey, bit.ly/Amazon Backlog Battle. You just type it in and you'll go to like the actual video games page, so that way, any kind of purchase, whether it's video games or like, maybe this Tempur-Pedic pillow that's like $200 or Kingdom Hearts 3 and stuff, like, you're basically telling Amazon like, hey, these guys on the, For the Love of Video Games podcast kind of, throw some money at them, like a little bit of money at them and stuff, because, you got
some money at
well, not literally, but like, you know what I'm saying, figuratively, and say like, hey, like these guys referred me to y'all, and, like, here I am going to be enjoying my $200 Tempur-Pedic pillow, which, by the way, not a sponsor of this show.
But you know what? I do like the idea of maybe like a fan coming across you on the street, and it's like, hey, Alex, and just starts chucking dollars in your face.
That would be the dream, right? I mean, for anybody at this point. But in case you guys are uneasy with giving, money to Amazon, directly and stuff, and then them kicking back, you can always donate to our cause. That is mybacklogbattle.tv/donate. Once again, the URL is mybacklogbattle.tv/donate. It's literally going to take you to a PayPal page where you can put in any sort of donation amount. And like I said, every bit of dollar amount will help towards this podcast and, of course, the Backlog Battle YouTube channel. So hopefully you guys can help out, every which way you can. And hopefully you enjoy that Tempur-Pedic, I almost said Swedish like pillow. I don't actually know if this is Swedish because it is assembled in the US, but I don't know. Are you going to buy this pillow from Amazon, Daniel?
I will have to give it a good think.
Oh, man. That means you're actually really considering it. Oh, man. But anyways, before, we got sidetracked for that, for pausing for the cause, I had to pick between Kingdom Hearts 3 and, of course, Resident Evil 2, the remake.
Ooh.
And in case you guys missed it, I do have a YouTube video talking about my first 6-hour impressions of the game. Now, I know the game isn't that long. It's technically clocking at around possibly 13, 14, maybe 15 hours to just be generous and stuff. But, I'm kind of playing it with my wife as well. And also I started a hardcore playthrough, and that impressions video will actually talk about the differences in both and, like some of the other surprises that are in store. But before we actually talk about the game proper, Daniel, what is your relationship to the Resident Evil series and specifically Resident Evil 2?
Okay, so if we're talking about the whole series, I played the first Resident Evil when it came out as a kid, and it like terrified me.
Okay.
It like I like that very first like cinematic with the zombie, when it like turns its face, like that nearly scarred me. Like it was
okay.
Yeah, like it's funny because I see it now and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, right. Bad CG.
But as a kid, like that was terrifying. Like I couldn't handle it.
I mean, I would imagine you're also terrified because the opening movie of the game is all live action too, right?
For some reason that didn't scare me as much as that cinematic with the zombie.
Wow. Okay.
I think because it's like hard to see and it's in black and white and it's like the shaky cam and all that stuff. So like, I think it was hard for me as a kid to like really fully understand what was happening.
I see. Okay.
But I kind of left the series alone after I didn't really play much of the game because it scared me too much. So like, I didn't really touch the series again until Resident Evil 4, which I loved and I still love because that game's great. I beat Resident Evil 5, which is kind of a mixed bag, and then Resident Evil 6, which is terrible. The game sucks. I beat Resident Evil 7, which was really, really good.
Nice.
I think that's a great game. The Resident Evil 1 remake, and I really liked what I played of it. I just didn't get around to like finishing it. I should one of these days.
Dang. Okay. Yeah.
And I did watch a Let's Play of Resident Evil 2 as well as Resident Evil 3, but I never like actually played Resident Evil 2.
Okay. So you're basically approaching this Resident Evil 2 technically brand new.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. So
yes, I've had a weird relationship with the series.
I see that. So my experience with the series was interesting because I never really jumped into the series until the Resident Evil 1 DualShock version. Now, I had a friend who...
I know about this one.
Yeah. So my friend actually told me about Resident Evil, the very first one when, basically when he, first played it. So I got Resident Evil, the director's cut, and played through that. And then from then on, I just kind of started playing the series just sequentially. The only game in the series that I never played or even acquired is 6. So if you think about that, I technically did play Outbreak like at E3 during 1 year and thought to myself, wow, I'm never going to play this game. Just online Resident Evil. This I thought it was a good idea, but like it wasn't executed well. And then, there's a bunch of like other Resident Evil, side stories and stuff, which, I played around like, trying to get, but never really, like devoted myself to them, right? Like Revelations came out. I still have the Resident Evil Revelatons misspelled 3DS box. And for
Revelatons.
Yeah. I need to check that on eBay if that's actually really expensive, but
it actually is.
Okay, then we probably shouldn't sell it at a garage sale in the summer.
No, I'm gonna check for you real quick, but go on.
Okay, so given that, like, I've been a huge fan of the series from the beginning to the very end. And as far as the Resident Evil remake goes, not only do I have the Resident Evil HD remake, which is the HD port of the GameCube version, but I also have the original GameCube remake of Resident Evil and its original Japanese release on the GameCube. So when the Japanese version of Resident Evil came out, which is Biohazard, I actually finished that entire game with Jill Valentine. Think about that. The entire game is in Japanese. I mean, there are, I think the dialogue, like the spoken dialogue is in English and stuff, but practically everything in that game is Japanese. So somehow I still was able to finish it. But I wasn't happy with that and got the American GameCube version and finished it using both Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine on the hardest difficulty on both. So I literally, by the time like the HD version of that game had come out, I had already played Resident Evil, the remake, like 3 times. Just to give you an idea of how big of a Resident Evil fan I am. And
okay.
Yeah. And yes, I've played, Resident Evil 2. And I have a funny story about this. So when Resident Evil 2 came out, like I was, I had some friends and stuff, obviously. I had that friend who introduced me to the series. And I told them, like, so I finished Resident Evil 2 with Claire. It's like, okay. And I finished the game. And my friends were like, what do you mean you finished the game? And I'm like, yeah, I finished the game with Claire. You didn't play Leon? I'm like, why would I play Leon? I already finished the game. And so that's when they told me that there's a scenario B. And I was like, oh my God. Are you kidding me? I already deleted my save file for Claire because I was freeing something out for like a game that used 5 memory card slots on my, Sony memory card. So I literally had to play through the game again as Claire. And so I can unlock scenario B for Leon. And now I could finally say at the time, like, okay, I finished Resident Evil 2, like for reals this time.
For real this time, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, now that we've kind of recounted our history with like Resident Evil, you haven't actually played much of the remake, haven't you?
Unfortunately not. I only played a little bit as Claire, and I got up to where she gets the knife.
Oh man, I want to tell you about the knife. Do you want me to tell you about the knife? Because that's actually one of the most interesting and hugest changes in this game that they've actually implemented.
Okay, tell me about the knife.
Okay, so you're still fresh. Is your memory of the Resident Evil remake still fresh?
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, so not only did you have a combat knife in that game, but you also had daggers, right? And daggers are a self-defense mechanism in Resident Evil Remake. So basically, if a zombie is about to bite you, then, you stab them with a dagger by pressing, a button, and, it's there. It's a consumable item, right?
Yes.
But the combat knife is separate, because you could use the combat knife if you're out of ammo, or if you want to stab a zombie on the ground. Well, they actually combine both of those functionalities in Resident Evil 2. So basically, when you get your combat knife, it has a durability meter now. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when, you can use it as a self-defense mechanism. So if a zombie is actually trying to bite you, you can actually just stab them. But here's the catch-22. When you do that, your combat knife will be stuck lodged on the zombie. So you have to retrieve your combat knife in order to even keep repeating to use it. So you have to kill the zombie. Eventually, like right now, like let's say I just stabbed a zombie right now, you'll see the knife sticking out of him, and you have to shoot him down in order to retrieve it. Okay? Now, you could still use the combat knife normally, right? Like stabby, whatever and stuff. And the durability will actually decrease less if you use it in the way that I described, which is stab the zombie while it's down or stab the zombie as it's approaching you. But if you use the combat knife as a self-defense mechanism, the durability actually decreases rapidly. Like a huge fraction of that durability will actually drop. In such a way that if you use it as a defense mechanism, eventually you won't even be able to retrieve it from the zombie itself. Like, so it's donezo.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So now every single opportunity you get to use that as a self-defense mechanism, now you have to think in your mind, is it worth it to actually lose more durability on your combat knife, or would you much rather take the hit? And that's kind of a crazy thing, right? And we sometimes obsess about dialogue trees and these kind of quote unquote what would be the best way to describe it? Like almost like fashioned and sculpted, curated choices, right? Curated player choices, as in, like there's a narrative choice and stuff. But I feel like player choice in this game is so interesting because, like if you think about it, it's like, okay, I'm going to use the knife as a self-defense mechanism. Oh crap, now I have to shoot the zombie down in order to even get it back. Oh crap, I actually don't have any more durability on that knife, so I can't get it anyway. So there's a myriad of questions that happen in that one split second where the zombie is about to get you. And to me, it's so fascinating that, somebody at Capcom thought, why don't we just combine a dagger from RE Remake and a combat knife and make that a consumable item and have durability? And that's really my big kind of thing that one of the two things that impressed me about the game is the combat knife, which is weird, right? Like it's like what do you think of that?
No, I'm totally with you. I see what you were saying before by comparing it to like dialogue choices, because when people think of like making a choice in a game, that's probably what they mostly think of, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that devalues choices that you make within the gameplay.
Yeah.
Because those choices are ones that like have a direct impact on how you play the game.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and this is a big reason why I like a lot of RPGs, is because like RPGs are all about those kinds of decisions that affect the gameplay.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And hearing this, I think it's actually a really neat idea, because it's basically forcing the player to make decisions based on like, well, I could use this now and this will help me right now, but in the long term, this is going to negatively affect me. And you have to weigh in those decisions, and you have to really think about what it is you actually want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it happens constantly in this game, because obviously this implementation of the combat knife isn't going to be the only kind of unique implementation of weapons in this Resident Evil, right? Like there are even weapons here that didn't exist in the original Resident Evil 2 that could make you, like have that kind of player choice decision as well. The other thing that I want to talk about, and this is something that I'm going to be curious to see how you feel about it. Maybe you do have an opinion on it already, is the overly verbose map system. And, like, I don't know if you've checked it out yet, but the way that the map system works is that it'll actually change the color of each room depending on whether or not you've discovered everything in that room or that you've retrieved everything in that room. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, for instance, like you go into this room and stuff, it'll just be like, like the clear color, like not literally clear, but like I think it's like greenish color and stuff. That kind of indicates that, yeah, you've actually explored everything. You picked everything up in that room. It's over. If a room is red, that means there's still more things to discover. And what's also interesting is that if you happen to brush by certain items, or let's say you actually tried to open a door with like a club symbol, but you don't have like the club key, for instance, what's actually going to happen is when you leave that area, if you hover the cursor on top of that door, it will say club door. or diamond door or spade door or something like that. So that way it actually minimizes the back and forth that you need to do in the game itself. I actually talked about this in my impressions video, and I think the reason why they did this, I think I also found an interview of them talking about it, was that one of the biggest hurdles that they found when it comes to, you know, instilling fear in people in like survival horror games over the past several years is that when when your game suddenly becomes so inundated with puzzles and back and forth that it just becomes frustrating, your game stops becoming a horror game and starts becoming a frustrating game, you know, and that just completely permeates the entire experience, right? And really, like, you know, at the end of the day, what is it really all about, right? Like, really, like, you know, the old design of survival horror relies on your memory. And as we grow older, that's not going to be any better, right? And even even the person who has the best memory can remember things wrong. So they basically figure, why not just, you know, let it play out that you've already, you know, you have to access the items first and foremost, right? Or at least brush past an item, and then we'll mark that on your map. You know, we'll even put the location of like whatever you're brushed by, what door you tried to open and stuff, you know, at the very least to help remind you of like maybe things you have lost, or maybe things you have missed. And it doesn't, in my opinion, it actually really works the way that they intended it. It's, you know, the game is less frustrating, but it's by no means easy. You know, the zombies are a lot smarter. The lickers are just as dangerous. And, you know, and there's so many others that I can't really say because it's going to spoil it. It's, you know.
Based on what I played, the game did not seem easy.
No, not at all. And that's kind of the beauty of this. It's like, you know, it just feels like a Resident Evil game that, you know, they didn't just like say, hey, let's just bring everything from Resident Evil 2 and stuff and not change anything. Like this is the kind of remake that I would like everybody to try to like aim for. You know, like it's like a true remake. Like it's like, hey, we had a really solid idea back in the PlayStation era. Let's just build on top of that because people know it's an awesome game. So let's make it even better, you know? And that's kind of like what Resident Evil 2 Remake is for me. It's like, it's basically that game, but like 10 times better than what it was. And it really shows. Like, we've been playing like the standard difficulty for like about, you know, 10 hours, 11 hours now, you know, on Claire. And it's funny because you know, in my other file, I actually deleted my hardcore file because I want to be able to go through the majority of Leon's playthrough without damage, and maybe using the ink ribbon just once. Think about that. That is insane, right?
Just once.
Yeah, just saving once.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's rough.
There's actually a trophy that rewards you for not using the inventory box as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not getting that.
It's possible. I've actually done it in the Resident Evil remake back on the GameCube. Because I started thinking like how the testers would do it, right? Because I was like, they wouldn't obviously put this trophy if it wasn't doable. And then I thought to myself, well, if I can't really use the inventory slot, then I'll just pick up items whenever I need them, you know? And so, you know, on my hardcore game, like, for example, like there's like a first aid spray in that, you know, entrance hall in the police station. I'm just not going to pick it up until I actually need it, you know? So it's an interesting meta game on top of the existing game itself that, and these are the kinds of things that I really truly enjoy about Resident Evil, especially, you know, the remake, this game, and 7. You know, I know you don't have to play it the way that I am playing it, but I don't know, like there's something special about even aiming for those kinds of goals of like not having enough ink ribbon, you know, not even saving once and not even like using the inventory box once, you know, it's like, it's like almost you're trying to play it as real as possible because obviously you can't carry like 10 million things with you, even though you have like 10 or whatever the hell slots of inventory, you know? So it's just, yeah, I can't really describe it, Daniel. It's great to me. to play it in that weird manner.
I'm glad you like the game so much. It's actually making me want to like put down Kingdom Hearts 3 and pick up the remake instead. I mean, I say pick up. I technically already own it, but like, you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's and just kind of like my last word on it and stuff. It's like, you know me and difficult games. Like when I play a difficult game and I feel like it's impenetrable, sometimes I actually just stop and don't play it. You know, for maybe a year. Bloodborne comes to mind.
Dark Souls 3
in the first boss.
The boss is not that hard. It's not.
But like Resident Evil, I don't know, I wish I could articulate like, why I love this series so much in a much better fashion, but it's weird to me that, out of all the games that I've played over the past, several years and stuff, like I play Resident Evil 2, get my hands on the controller and I feel compelled to be like, all right, you're going to do a no save run. You're also going to do a no inventory box run. And I'm like, what is even going on? Like for any other game, I'd be like, no, we're going to abuse the hell out of the save system. We're going to freaking shove all the gunpowders we have like in inventory. But in my hardcore gameplay, I'm like, nuh-uh. Like we're going to get through this game as far as possible. Maybe we'll start with like one ink ribbon and that's it. But it's crazy. I'm playing it the worst and hardest way possible. But like one person that I'll tell you this and I'll be done. I promise.
Sure.
One person that we follow is Sphere Hunter. She actually finished the game in about 2.5 hours.
Oh, I love her. She's great.
On the PC. And I'm like, I'm going to do what she's doing. Fuck it.
Yeah. I like her. Really cool. You should check her out.
Yeah, if you haven't checked Sphere Hunter out, she's really awesome.
Yeah, she makes very good videos.
Yeah,
but I was gonna say that reminds me of when I played Deus Ex Human Revolution, and I don't know what came over me, but I was just like, screw it, we're gonna play it on the hardest setting, and we're gonna do a no kill run.
Wow.
And I did it.
Damn, dude. Props for you, man. I want to platinum Resident Evil 2. I'm at right now, like I am feeling really saucy and want to platinum Resident Evil 2, which is
saucy.
Yeah, which is the first platinum in a very long time that I've had.
Yeah, I just listened to an album by Polyphia called New Levels, New Devils, and there is actually a song called Saucy. that is your new theme song.
Oh, great. Amazing. I think I got that word from you.
It's a good song.
Okay.
It's a good song.
I believe you. Anyways. All right. So, I mean.
Saucy boy, you.
Oh, Jesus. Anyways, next week we'll probably talk about Resident Evil 2 more. I do hope that I can at least finish Standard with my wife, like, by the time the next episode rolls around. So that's a good chunk of time, like about a week. So we're basically like trying to explore it as, like as, I don't want to say controlled, but like as relaxed. Is that even a right word to use for Resident Evil? Like you can't be relaxed when playing a survival horror game, but like I guess that's what we're doing. And
all this surviving in a horror is just so relaxing.
Yeah, give me my like strawberry daiquiri or whatever, like just hand it over. Like I don't know, man. But anyways, so do you have anything like coming up for your channel and stuff like that? And how can people find you if they want to chat with you, man?
Okay, so if you want to, chat with me on Twitter, it's at Shintai Reviews, and if you want to follow and subscribe on YouTube, it's Daniel Santos. Although if you have trouble finding that, it's also you could find it through Shintai Reviews. As for what I'm working, so I went back to the Zestiria script. I know I keep talking about it.
Yeah, right.
But I've gone back to it and I've started writing it again, and I feel like since I've been working on it for so long, I should just like buckle down and be like, you know what, I'm just gonna finish it.
Nice.
So because what usually happens with me is that like I'll have like an idea and then I want to like just move on to like something else, but what ends up happening is like old projects get left in the wayside, and I don't want to do that. So I think I'm just gonna be like, you know what? I want to talk about Berserk. Yeah, I want to talk about like other stuff, but I've been holding off on this one for too long. So I think I'm just gonna buckle down and just do it.
Do it.
But the biggest hurdle, honestly, is like my memories of the story at this point, because it's been so long, are kind of fuzzy. So I need to rewatch the cutscenes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, I think it's like 17 hours worth of cutscenes or something crazy like that.
That's a lot, man.
It really is a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a friend to watch them with me, so that like I'm not just like sitting there watching it in my lonesome, and we're going to like truck through it together. So and jot down notes so I don't lose my sanity.
That's a good idea, man. I know that the topic of Tales of Zestiria has kind of made you a little bit insane because of just kind of so much that you want to say that just wants to kind of burst out of you and stuff. We've talked about it several times over the past year, and I'm looking forward to that either way.
So just to get an idea of how long the script is currently, it is the same length right now as the Star Ocean 5 video.
Okay. If you had actually said it's probably as long as the script for Yakuza 0, I would have fainted.
Oh, come on. But I bring that up as a point of comparison because the Star Ocean 5 video was like an hour long.
Oh my God. I'm just, that's the longer the video, the more hype it becomes, man. Be careful.
And I'm just saying, this isn't, and I haven't even gotten into the story yet.
Ugh, Jesus.
And it's this long.
Man, crazy.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I do not disappoint.
I hope it doesn't disappoint too, but it's great though. I'm looking forward to it still. So, anyways, as far as my stuff is concerned, you can find me on twitter.com/mybacklogbattle. And of course, my YouTube channel is youtube.com/mybacklogbattle. Don't miss some of the videos that I've just, released recently. I did release an impressions video on the Anthem VIP demo that, basically happened about 2 weeks ago by the time you guys listen to this. And maybe you guys have participated in the open beta that happened this past weekend by the time you guys listen to this. So obviously, if you guys have any opinions, want to share like some thoughts and data about the game, my videos are all right there. And of course, my Resident Evil 2 impressions that goes into more detail about, a lot of the things that I talked about on the show. And Daniel, this is kind of funny to me because, being a on and off Tales fan, which really means just 2 games in my case, I completely forgot one very important aspect, in my opinion, of Tales games that nobody seems to bring up every single time one comes out, and that is multiplayer.
Yeah. I mean, I know of some friends that like to they'll have parties or whatever where it's like they'll invite a bunch of their friends together and they'll play through entire Tales games together. I've personally never really dabbled in that.
Mm-hmm.
I've only ever really played Tales games by myself for the most part.
Yeah. And that's totally fine. A lot of but it's kind of weird to me that every time somebody, makes a list of games that you could play with somebody else, that the Tales series seems to be overlooked. So I'm actually going to be making a video about that just to kind of bring awareness to people that, hey, by the way, did you know that Tales is a multiplayer game too? It's just to kind of be wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of thing. Because I was lamenting at the fact that, Final Fantasy VI and stuff had multiplayer and stuff. And then when my wife was changing her button configuration in Vesperia, we noticed hey, 1P, 2P, 3P, 4P, there's multiplayer in this game. It's what?
I was actually gonna ask, are you gonna be playing it with your wife?
Potentially, yeah, actually. So
cool.
That's
let me know how that turns out.
Yeah, I also want to probably make a video out of it as well. So, expect that within the next week or two. I think that's going to be an interesting thing to talk about because I think, and I'm going to be curious too, like whenever this happens and stuff, like whenever we jump into Berseria and do that as well. Because I'm like, man, had I only known that the Tales games have multiplayer, maybe we could have like used that as an excuse to actually check them out, like more of them out, So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I would. Oh man, you should really play Tales of Graces.
What platform is that on?
PS3.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well,
it's also multiplayer.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay.
The combat in that one is super good. Like I have a friend of mine. He said that like he played that one with 4 friends. The 4 of them beat the game together, and he said that there was not even like a hint of slowdown. Like it was just like perfect from start to finish.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool.
And the fact that like everyone was able to have fun and enjoy the game, and like not have to like wrestle with the camera or anything like that, like that's pretty incredible.
That is pretty incredible. I'll give you that. That's really crazy. Okay. Well, anyways, like that's just a tease of like what's to come on both of our channels. But of course, you can email us at podcast. Actually, before we do that, email us at podcast@mybacklogbattle.tv. We have a new section called Errata, which is basically like we get some corrections from people in the community because, we're not infallible people here. And I just wanted to share some of that with you, Daniel, before we move on.
Okay.
First of all, we want to thank our community for sending these in and stuff. Like, if you don't have any questions, at the very least, help us and correct us. The first one is actually sent by Gumshoe and Thoth Beyond of our Discord, and of course, a member of our Backlog Battle Army Discord, which you can access at bit.ly/BBArmy Discord. They say that the last Shovel Knight DLC has been released, which is King Knight. So that's done. Shovel Knight is done. Totally done. No more.
Okay.
No more.
No more.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this next one is by Short Stack Zero. She says, Hollow Knight can be played up to 112%. And this is in reaction to when I say, like, we were going to be, my wife and I are going to be playing up to 100%. Developers didn't want to adjust the percentage and undervalue their community's completion achievement. So, yes, the game is playable up to 112%. And then again, I want to thank the people. What?
I'm just saying, whoa.
Oh, whoa. I thought you said well. And I'm like, what? You were going to say something about that?
No.
Yeah.
I'm going, whoa.
Yeah.
That is a lot of game.
That is a lot of percents. Yes. I mean, what is it? Like Symphony of the Night is like what, 210% or some crap like that, or 181 or something? I don't know. I have to check.
No, I think it was like 201% because you could actually, where you fight Dracula, that counts as like 1%, but you have to use the library card to teleport out of there.
I see. That's right. Yeah. Good idea. Anyways, thank you very much again for the people in the community to be sending all that stuff. And hopefully you guys check out the new content that's going to be on my channel and Daniel's channel and stuff over the next few days and weeks and months, because it's going to be awesome. But anyways, thank you very much for joining us on this week's episode of For the Love of Video Games. And just remember, we're all doing this for the love of video games. So take care, enjoy your week, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. So have fun playing your games, and bye-bye.
Don't love your games too much.